in the VP of Business category, number 57, once again, doubted by his opponent. Number 71 in the repair, RC left lap. We are racing in the VP of category, folks. Make your bets.
All right, welcome everybody to Tech Talk Tuesday with the VP of Motorsports and like Business Development, Scotty Baubie. We call him Scotty Too Hottie here at the Beer Money Polling Team. And we have partnered up with Premier Lubricants to bring you a discount on fantastic products. And every Tuesday night we highlight some products. Let us know where you're watching from tonight. We've appreciated all the emails from many of you that have sent questions in for Scott. And then Doug will reach out to him and do that, all that stuff there. So again, my name is Jason Schultz, Beer Money. Below me, Scott Baubie. We got to do like Hollywood Scares, Scott. And then you got to point at Doug. And Doug is our internal sales guy and also the general manager of the Beer Money Polling Team. He's our one-stop shop for if we want to get it done, we go to Doug. So welcome to October, truck and tractor polling fans and motorsports fans everywhere. Tonight, we're talking, you said automotive oils tonight. Is that what we're talking about tonight, Scott?
Yep. Happy Tuesday, everybody. So tonight we're going to talk about automotive gear oil and the GL number that's represented to the gear oil. So before we get going, I just want to highlight one topic that I was up to Williams Grove Speedway, Pennsylvania for a World of Outlaw Pennsylvania Posse show. So we get asked, or I get asked all the time, or an engine builder recommend, and you see it a lot in power sports, like with motorcycle and smaller engines, go-kart engines, but 2T and 4T. So I just want to explain something quick so that everyone can reference what that means. So the T actually is some will say it's French, some will say it's German, but it actually means, that T means tact, or TAKT. And that, the vocabulary meaning for that is stroke or cycle. So when you see 2T or 4T, it's actually representing 2-stroke or 2-cycle, or 4-stroke or 4-cycle. So if you look on an oil bottle, typically it'll say it. There's a little circle with the 4T or 2T. But like I say, in motorcycle world, you see it a lot. They kind of reference the nomenclature and vocabulary. They'll say, I need to have 20W50 4T, or vice versa, 2T. So just wanted to clarify that, because I had some emails on that over the weekend, and I had 3 people didn't ask me about it, but they said, hey, do you have 4T oil? So I just want to clarify that technically is 4-stroke and 2T is 2-stroke. So, but with that said, we'll get on to tonight's program. So tonight's automotive gear oil.
Hey,
so
Scott, before you take off, I want to let people know. So across the bottom is our coupon code. Anything you order from our website, you save 15%. So by using coupon code BMPT, and you just go to beermoneypollingteam.com, click on, what is our link on here again?
Premier Lubricants.
Premier Lubricants. Yep, duh.
Yep, KS. And, Premier Lubricants, KS.
I will do it right now. I'll show everybody how to do it at home. Give me 1 second here. Go onto our website right now. So go to beermoneypollingteam.com. That's our website looks like. Click on Premier Lubricants and then order away, and then use coupon code BMPT at checkout and save 15%. So I want to thank people. We've sold some ether and some soap. What have we all sold so far, Doug?
Ether and soap so far.
Ether. And that's the things we've talked about on the shows. So that's
Right.
good.
Yeah. Yep. Excellent. So tonight, to get going, so we're gonna highlight automotive gear oil tonight, and then the GL number. But there's 2 classifications for gear oil, and they're completely different animals. So there's a SAE gear oil, which is your automotive. That's Society of Automotive Engineers, just like with engine oil. And then there's the AGMA, or AGMA, and that's American Gear Manufacturers Association. So they do the engineering for industrial gear oil. And like I said, they're complete different animals. They're different additives in them, so forth. So for tonight, we're going to just focus on the automotive gear oil, which is most common in the automotive world, heavy duty trucks, light trucks, tractor, truck pulling, et cetera, motorsports. So, but with that said, the most common automotive and racing gears are the hypoid pinion. So they are they have an axis that is offset. They're common in autos, like I said, and common in heavy duty trucks and motorsports as well. So they're designed to take high load capacity. They're space savings. So that, in the engineer's design, they were kind of made to get into the small, rear ends and pumpkins. And with that design, they require an EP lubricant, which we're going to get into later on, which is extreme pressure. So, but I have a picture there. That's the basic. I don't know if I can blow it up or not, but that's your basic hypoid and pinion. And the basic function of the gear lubricants is minimizes wear and gear distress. It reduces noise. It reduces friction and dissipates heat. It resists oxidation, rust, and corrosion. It's compatible with seals and bearings. It removes metal contaminants, and it prevents and reduces foam. So to achieve this, you have to have some pretty good additives in these things, and it's a careful balance to get this from competitor to competitor. So the main ingredient for the EP or extreme pressure additive is sulfur and phosphorus. And then they have dispersant, which suspends sludge and varnish. You have your copper passivator. Then you have your anti-rust additives. You have your friction modifiers, which is technically in our world limited slip. And then you have your anti-foam additive. So, but people will see too that a lot of automotive gear oils, you'll see anti-scuff gear lubricants. And anti-scuff just simply means it's commonly referred to as EP or extreme pressure. So, and like I said, the most common additives for EP in today's world is the sulfur phosphorus.
So is that what gives gear oil its nasty stink?
It is, yep. It's the sulfur. Sulfur is always a smelly thing. It's been smelly forever. So yeah, you're spot on. And then we'll talk about the additives a little bit down the road here in the show. So, but in a nutshell, way back before my time, when they were introducing in GM and Ford and all the auto industry people, they had lead additives in the gear oil or transmission oil at the time. They were kind of using the same oil for the transmissions and for the gear, gear oil in the rear end. So, but as time went on, like everything, they found out that it wasn't good for the environment. So they started engineering and coming up with some new chemistry. So they introduced sulfur first, and they found out that sulfur made this, layer in between the gears. But later down the road, they found out it was good for one thing, but the sulfur was not good for yellow metals or brass or, any of that style, metallurgy. So they had to go back to the drawing board and figure out how they could come up with, a new additive package that wouldn't hurt anything. So they introduced phosphorus, and the phosphorus worked really good. Basically it created a solid sacrificial layer of material in between the gears. So down the road, they found out that, they were still having a problem with corrosion of brass and, transmission, different metals they used to use in these transmissions. So somewhere about 25 years ago in our lifetime, so they came out with the inactive sulfur additives of the world. So it's still sulfur and phosphorus, but it's inactive and there's benefits to that. So, but, and that's the most current chemistry that they still use today in these gears, gear oil, excuse me. So, but if you have any questions on that. So what is the GL number in the gear oil? So there's a little confusion. So when you go to the industrial gear oils, they come in like AGMA 1, AGMA 2, 3, 4, so on. Those are actually rated by viscosity. So 1 is a lower viscosity, and as you get higher, the viscosity goes up or thicker, so to speak. A lot of people over the years thought that the GL, the GL rating, so GL1, GL2, GL3, GL4, GL5, and GL6, kind of represented the same thing, and that's not true. So the GL number with automotive gear oil was basically the amount of additive that they put in for a certain style of gear. So as they went higher, like a GL5, there was more EP additive in the chemistry. And typically that was your, steep angle gears or, gears that take a lot of pressure and load and slide. So, but currently there's only really 2 active GL number gear oils. It's GL4 and GL5. So, GL1 was old school. And like I say, when they first came out with it years and years ago, they used it in synchronized transmissions, the auto industry, and also in the differential. Again, it was bad for brass, just to summarize, just to simplify it. So, but they do have another gear oil selection that's active. It's MT-1, which, we can talk about that a little later. But so for now, just for the understanding of our audience, the GL1, the GL2, GL3 spec is obsolete. They're not current. And then GL6 is obsolete as well. So GL6 came into the arena when Ford and GM got together, when they had these real steep gears, when they had transfer cases come in. So back in the day, technically GL6 had the most goodies in it, the most extreme. So, but fast forward to today, all the new engineering and petroleum engineering and chemistry and good base oils, good additives, the GL5 supersedes all of them. So you don't see GL6. I've seen GL6 one time in the last year, and that was a private label rear end company that they had a private label, and they kind of preached that a little bit for marketing. But for the most part, GL4, which has half of the EP additive, basically, than the 5. So, but I did put in the notes, if anyone wants them, I broke down the GL1, what they were used for back in the day, and, GL2 and all that, which I don't think we have to go through that, because they're just, as years went on and technology improved, they just basically got superseded by the next number. Almost like engine oil. If you think of diesels, the new spec is CK4, and then that supersedes CJ4. And when CJ4 come out, it superseded, CH4 and CI4. So it's kind of the same, principle on there. So, but the GL4s, when you see those are typically mineral based, and you can get, typically 80-90. You see GL4 ratings a lot with your 80W90 gear oils, but they're mainly used in synchronized manual transmissions. They're good gear protections for synchronizing the gears. Can also be used in the hypoid axis gears under real moderate load, low speed conditions. It's intended for sets with light to heavy load and sliding force. So when you get up into, like the extremes of truck and tractor pulling, there's enormous pressure and enormous shearing on the gears. GL5 is really what everybody's using. So, and then, GL5, I'll read off the notes here, my little cheat sheet. It says designed primarily for the axles operating at high load and high speed, can handle shock loading as a higher load rating than G4, so it supersedes G4. The GL5s of the world are the most common seen today in formulations, again, supersede the past GL ratings, used highly in high performance too. The GL5 lubricants, they contain high levels of extreme pressure additives to provide that protection and under boundary lubrication conditions. Common heavy-duty applications include differentials in motorsports, on-road, off-road trucks, differentials, final drives in Caterpillar scrapers, and differentials in planetaries and Euclid haul trucks. Some manual shift transmissions use GL5, but typically should not be used in synchro mesh type transmission, as the EP additives, they're corrosive to yellow metals, or, when we say yellow metals, it's typically referencing brass. So limited slip differentials also typical, require this specific lubricant. And a lot of the racing, what they label as racing, have limited slip additive chemistry in it. So, and that's the current. So the next one there, G6, the GL6 we talked about, that's obsolete. The test measures that they used to test with aren't even available anymore. So, and I don't believe they've been around since maybe the late 70s or before the 70s. So, but they're obsolete. And then that MT1 we talked about, those are for non-synchronized manual transmissions in the heavy-duty trucks. It has a total different additive package and chemistry than GL4 and 5. So, but that's a current spec too, just for everyone's reference. But any questions on that?
We just had the Florida Pullers checking in, our friend John AC down there. But I haven't seen any other questions pop up yet, Scott. So,
all right. So gear oil viscosity, there's a couple of viscosities the most common everybody sees. So it's important to know that the viscosity for gear lubricants is primarily chosen to provide desired film thickness between interacting surfaces at a given speed load. Because it's difficult to determine the load for most viscosity selection methods, the load it's basically assumed and determined, the determining factors by speed. So it's that's a tough one to gauge. But the two most common that you see viscosities that even if you go to your Tractor Supply or AutoZone or Napa or, online, are 75W90 and 80W90. So 7590 is, uses the extreme pressure conditions, limited slip differentials. It's used in, colder climates. It's, you can use it in final drives and axles. The thick oil film formed by this oil can withstand very high temperatures and extreme conditions, including dirty and dusty. So, which is important especially if you're on the circle dirt track racing. So, and typically you're seeing most of those going to full synthetics now. They still do make, I think they have a few mineral based, but most 7590s are going the route with full synthetic just for all the, DNA advantages of full synthetic. One is the high viscosity index, which just in a basic term is, how it reacts hot to cold, or the pour point, so, you get out on a track, or, maybe it's cold where you're pulling, it's not up temperature, but once you get down the track and everything's like, you're putting the coals to it, it heats up. So, but 8090 is typically, like I said, is more mineral based oils. And you see that a lot around, the farms and stuff, for, fleets and heavy duty truck, bus garages, stuff like that, where it's not such a harsh condition, but they come in mono grade. So real common one is SAE 50, which back in the day was pretty much, they considered an engine oil. And that's really, the mono grade is really designed for normal temperatures or ambient temperatures. So the higher a number on that indicates, a more viscous oil. But it's really common in construction stuff, the SAE 50. You see that a lot. Like I say, you can use that in transmissions, and gear oil, especially on the trucks. The multi-grade gear oils, that's what your 80W90 or 7590. So again, like engine oil, that first number with the W is a winter number or cold rated number. The second number is a hot or hot rated number. So, so the multi-gears, other than in motorsports, you usually see that where it's, can handle hotter and cooler temperatures.
So what is 140 gear lube then?
So 140, it's just going up. Just to summarize, Doug, and that's a great question. It's thicker. It's a thicker viscosity. So I'll give you an example over on the racing world, especially dirt. A lot of times we'll go to a 75 140 gear oil full synthetic. When they're running wide open, or they decel a lot depending on the track, or if there's wheel hop, when you got that shearing or those gears, slide or have that hard load on them. So we'll jump up to 140 because that'll actually provide a thicker boundary to protect that as it gets hot. So when they're running the big tracks on like with truck and tractor pulling, you don't see it and you don't need it so much. But when in the race car world on the big tracks, where it gets hot, where it's really running, a long time, and deceleration, believe it or not, on a dyno chassis puts more shear and stress on the oil than acceleration, which is kind of interesting. You would think.
I know on the big mods or the unlimiteds, they have tons of rear end issues, and that has to do with when that box hits, it like unloads things. And there's a split second in there where the bearings are not getting any oil. And
exactly. It's a great
that's
point.
What bites them. And they've, like Brett Payne with GMS has incorporated a pump now that is, instead of using, what would you call it? Centrifugal force to throw oil, they actually have a pump that sprays oil on that differential now.
Yeah.
That's eliminating some of the issue.
Yeah, no, it's really the 140 and higher. It's basically gives you that much more film strength for that application. But you also have to remember too that it's like me jumping in a pool of water and then me jumping in a pool of mud. So it's coefficient friction. So as much as you're getting that protection, you're also losing a little bit of that, freeness to give you that equates back, to the engine or horsepower. So there's a fine balance there of do you need it or not. But, it's just and you got a great point. It's shock load. Like when you get the shock load and like when you get wheel hop, it's considered shock load. But the 75-90 full synthetic gear oils of today, especially a racing classified one on the top tier, they're phenomenal. Like they're very high end, extremely high end base oils and very high end additives. So they can really, take a beating or pounding or shearing, I guess. So, but, in years ago, they didn't have that technology. So you probably saw a lot more wear, but excuse me. But no, that's a good question.
We have a question.
Yeah.
How much thicker? So I'm guessing they're referring to the difference between a 90 weight and 140 weight.
Yeah, so I should have and I don't have one right in front of me, but if you have a viscosity chart, and a viscosity chart is a nice little tool because it goes across. It'll give you the ISO grade, which is viscosity grade for like your hydraulic oils. And then it goes over and you get, I think the next one, if I'm not mistaken, is AGMA, your gear oils. And then the next one is your SAE, your engine oils. And then your next one is SAE gear oils. Yeah, right there's one. So if you look at it, and 140 might not be on there, but can you blow that up, Jason?
I can't. That's the thing I clicked on. Sorry. I don't know if I can save it. Hold on. Let me see if I can save this image. Yeah, give me a second. I can save it.
I'm going to look too here.
Yeah, Brian says, Mr. Schaefer says 1 grade above 90.
Yeah, so it's 1 grade. I got one here. I wonder if I can send this to you. Jason, I'm going to send this over to you so you can throw it on.
That'd be great. Yeah, send an email or Facebook Messenger.
I'm going to send it to your email because this is really a great tool for everybody. I'm just going to put it's coming to you right now, Jason.
Yep, I'll download it. Give me a second.
He is correct. It's one viscosity grade up from 90, but it's important that you can see the viscosity where it is as far as, and again, our show is basically educating people on the basics. It's technical, but it's the basics. So you'll see on that chart that, and it's good because you can go across and see, like, everyone can relate to hydraulic oil, like AW68 or ISO 32, 46, 68 up on thickness. So when you look at a viscosity chart and you go across, it's a great tool because you can see engine oil where it is on there for viscosity. You can see your gear oils and all that stuff. And when you get that pulled up, it'll actually reference that AGMA for the industrial gear oils to the SAE gear oils too. So you'll see what we're talking about.
I almost have it uploaded. Give me 1 second.
Yep, take your time.
Oh, it's a PDF. Hold on a second. I got to turn into a JPEG. Yep, it's a PDF. Of course it is. This moment of silence brought to you by Jason Schultz.
So anyways, just while you're doing that, just go back to the GL4s and why they're a weak link to, and GL5s for brass. So when you have brass or yellow metals, what happens is the additive package that puts the boundary or the sacrificial layer there, it supersedes the metal. So when the gears shear and come together and it kind of squeezes the oil out, that film streak, when they put a pressure, it would actually, the sulfur and phosphorus would actually peel away the yellow metal or brass. So that's why it's detrimental to yellow metals, because it eats at them. So that's where the GL4 comes in better to run with any yellow metals, or kind of synchronize.
Am I zoomed in on the right spot?
Yeah.
Scotty?
Yep. So if you see that, you can see the gear oils, SAE gear oil, and then you see the AGMA that I referenced for industrial. They're two different animals, but you can also go up. There's a 250 automotive gear oil. So in my old eyes, but if you want to reference it, so you can see the window of what 140 is. So, when you say there's a viscosity, it's not just like within 1% or whatever. You can see this chart's really nice because you can see that 140, kind of falls in between, in this case, that's an ISO, what is that? An ISO 680 or 460. So it's pretty thick. If you want to think about it, it's pretty thick. So it's going to put in viscosity, it puts the boundary in between there. So it's pretty, it's going to protect. But again, you got to be careful. If you could lose a little bit of your horsepower. It takes a little bit to go through the thicker oil, just like a crankshaft would be, as far as coefficient friction. So if you don't need it, you don't need it. And the newer stuff too, the seal, the additives for the seal, they're much better today. You don't, eat seals, or, if you get, there are people that mistakenly will put an 80-90 in, or if they get, 75-90, that's a lower grade. You can, you've probably seen this, heard people, they blow their rear end out, or they have blows by the seal and whatever. So if you get, it's just like anything. If you buy a high end, you use good components, you're going to have a good, quality performing finished product. If you, I reference chocolate chip cookies. If you go and buy Great Value shortening and, Great Value, not to pick on them, but, chocolate chips, it's different than if you got Crisco shortening or, margarine and Toll House chocolate chip cookies. You're going to get a different end product because it's higher end stuff, but do we clarify that for the question?
Phyllis hasn't said much since then, so I think we're okay on that. Let me get back into our where we were with the mono grades and the multi grades. Give me 1 second here. There we go. So we're back.
Yep, I think so. We're at extreme pressure gear oils.
There we go.
Yep. So we'll just explain it a little bit. We've talked about it, the GL5 for extreme pressure gear oils. they can come in synthetic or mineral based base oils. The common multigrades contain extreme, pressure, rust inhibitors, anti-foam additives that we all talked about. And the additives allow EP gears, the oil to protect highly loaded gear sets. It has high contact pressure of the gear tooth face and can cause gears to wear, quicker. EP gear oil helps extend the life of high load bearing gear sets too. So, but again, just in that paragraph, I put some notes in there. The sulfur and phosphorus, it puts a black sacrificial coating on the gears and anything that touches with a little pressure and temperature. So as the gears turn, instead of wearing the sacrificial coating or additive, so if you can imagine those gears, they're coming down a mesh and you got that boundary or film, it's peeling away. The oil's coming out peeling away, and that's what protects. So instead of the gears, turn when they turn, instead of wearing, that's your protection. And it's just good. Like I say, the new technology of that and the additives are phenomenal from way back when. Other than that, just to pick out some notes in there, I got in there just for reference. Traditional GL, 4 gear oil, just average, it's about half of the level of sulfur and phosphorus than a GL5. So the GL5, it's got a lot stronger bond in it. Won't when you have that film strength, it doesn't all peel off, so you have protection. The oil is always constantly moving around, especially if you have a spray setup in there. That's going to help as well too. So, but other than that, there's mineral-based gear oil. The high quality of mineral-based oils, they perform well. In fact, it's been proven over the years that they have a higher pressure viscosity coefficients than synthetics, allowing greater film thickness at given operator. But I want to just note that it's not for extreme or harsh conditions. So that's the big difference. And just like engine oil, the group 1, group 2, group 3 base oils we talked about, group 1 at the top of the distillation is your, dirtiest, so to speak, most saturates. As you distill it, group 2 is better. And then you distill it in the tower, group 3 is even better. The group 3s today we talked about are so good that there's some of them are being labeled as full synthetic. So depending on manufacturer or brand, the quality can vary based on those things, the quality of the additives and the quality, or, if you're using a group 1 or a group 3 base oil, for example, there's going to be a difference how they perform. So the synthetic gear oils of today, they're frequently multi-grades, which is 75-90, 75-140, 75-250, very robust chemistry today. You can use it at extremely low temperatures, extremely high temperatures. That's the viscosity index on full synthetics is much better. They prevent rust, foaming of the gear, oil in the box and the wear of the gears. And typically foam is from the shearing, or heat typically creates foam and oil and breaks it down. There's, we talked about before, heat is one of the number one killers of oil. So it's important. It's good for dirty, dusty conditions, motorsports, marine. I have several marinas that purchased they purchased several, but one in particular is our Champion 7590 racing oil. And they run in the lower units on the inboard outboards. They run 2 to 3 years sometimes without changing that. So, but synthetic base stocks, they're greater inherent resistance to oxidation and thermal degradation or heat. They resist heat more is what that means. You can use it in multiple vehicles. You can use it in your passenger cars, your trucks, on-road, off-road, like I said, boats, motorsports, tractors, all that good stuff. So, but other than that, just to summarize that, and I said it a few times, just like anything, there's good, better, best, and premium. And most of the brands today are pretty, oil's pretty good at every level, but chemistry is different, and it makes a big difference from competitor brand, competing brand to competing brand. So, But the most common that you see in motorsports, funny they had said that earlier in the notes, was 7590, 75 140 are pretty much the two you see all the time over in the motorsports arena. So, but any questions on that or more clarity or explanation?
No, nothing so far, Scott.
Yeah,
I
so
can
it's
jump into the other two slides. You said you wanted to talk about. Let me find my email here, but sorry. We have the GR synthetic gear PDF, and then we have the other two look like line cards: Sunoco, Ultra 80W, and then Ultra Weight, and then the 75. You want me to bring those up?
yeah. So I just have some products that we have in stock
Yep.
over at Premier, and a couple of them are GL5, the full synthetics, and then well, you have this one too, Jason, but the Sunoco 80W90 it's nice. Well, we'll go with that one. It's up there, whatever you want to do.
Here's all three of them. We can
Okay,
do
so you see how Sunoco kind of on their product data sheets, they reference the GL4 right on there. So it's 80W90 GL4 gears. And the nice part about today's world with product data sheets, they're very informative and educational for the consumer. So it's nice. So you look in the description, it actually kind of tells you everything we kind of covered with that, what they're used for, applications. So, but we have that in stock over at Premier Lubricants. And then I referenced the Sunoco 7590 and the Champion 7590, both GL5. The Champion, we get the Sunoco there. But, even though the Sunoco doesn't say on it, racing on the label, don't let that, throw you off because it's very high end. It's basically, you can use it in a racing application. It just doesn't say racing, but it's very high end, full synthetic, heavy duty, kind of the specifications, you can see like Mac is called out on theirs. And then that Champion one you have there, basically they call theirs, they have a racing version of it, which has limited slip additive in it, right in the chemistry, but very good product. I know we fixed a lot of issues on some of the top teams just by switching gear oil over to Champion over the last few years. But these are all readily available. I know it's end of the season, so we're kind of planning for next year on that. But as far as day shift business, what I call our core, we have that stuff too. I do have, like with the Champion, just for reference, mentioned I have multiple marinas that buy that for the lower units, just because it's a higher end product. We have, people that buy it just, for their trucks or, their shops, farms, whatever. So just because it says racing, doesn't mean you can't use it for other applications for sure. It's still a GL5. It's got all the, SAE, Society of Automotive Engineers specifications, but it's a high-end product for sure. So, but other than that, GL5, just to summarize, that is a rating on additives and gear style. They correlate together. So GL5 and GL4 are your most common in today's world. Your GL1, GL2, GL3, and GL6 are obsolete. They've been obsolete for a while. And then when you go over to the gear oil for industrial, it's AGMA, like on that chart. So that's a whole different animal because there's a lot of open gears and different things. They put tactifiers in for open gears so the oil sticks, things like that. Dewatering for like bottling companies, all that good stuff. But other than that, that's kind of a nutshell, the automotive gear oil.
Do you want me to bring that viscosity chart back up at all, Scotty, or do you go through that enough?
Yeah, you know what? It's a good reference tool for people. You get asked a lot, and it basically has most of the lubricants that people use today are on that viscosity chart. It's a great reference tool. And like I say, it actually on the one side will show you the Centistoke rating of oil, and then it'll show you the SUS rating for oil on the right side typically. But yeah, if you blow that up and look at it close, So if you see the ISO, that's International Standard Organization. So those are your hydraulic oil ratings. So when you see that down at the bottom, it probably starts out with like maybe 8 or 10, and then it goes to 32, 46, 68 on the ISO. So those are your hydraulic. And then the AGMA rating column, that's your industrial gear oils. So they rate them number by viscosity. So 1 is thin and 8A at the top is thicker. So they go thicker. And then on your SAE auto, that's your engine oils. So that's your viscosities. And, if you reference over to how they measure it, the Saybolt or the Chromatic, that's your Cenestoke measuring and your SUS measuring. So it's just 2 different ways to measure viscosity, 2 different test methods. That's all that is. So they reference, you see Cenestoke a lot on an oil, like at 100, degrees or at 40. And then typically Celsius. And then your SAE gear, that is your gear oils we just talked about for automotive. So, and you can see, like, if you look at 75 on a multi-grade, so technically when the oil is cooler, you're down at this viscosity, you're at a, 40 Cenestoke, and then the 90. So that's your window. So if you take the bottom of 75 and go to the top of 90, that's your multi-grade window of viscosity. But great little chart.
Yeah.
Reference. I know they make a pocket one for wallets.
If anybody wants this, just email Doug at beermoneypullingteam.com or Jason at beermoneypullingteam.com. We can send this over to you. So it's been fun, the amount of questions that we've been getting, and to the website and stuff, and then you're answering the client, Scott. I love it.
Yeah, one thing to reference too. So if you see the Cenestoke rating on that viscosity chart, usually the rule of thumb is just multiply by 5, and that'll give you your SUS rating. So, and then the same goes if you want to go from SUS to Cenestoke rating for your viscosity, just divide by 5 and it gets you right in the ballpark. So, but other than that, the sulfur and phosphorus, the additives today, we get, like, there, no disrespect to anybody, because a lot of people, there's such a gray area with oil. Just like over the weekend, walking around the pits and in the infield, some of the people I know or had, apparel on, they come over and ask questions. They still, and I'm going to pick on racing oil because that's where, I was at an event. They still reference racing oil high zinc. They always ask high zinc. They think that a high zinc parts per million, a ZDDP package, or zinc, what is FREF we talked about in the first week, is better. And it's not. It's a combination of zinc and phosphorus and calcium. So just because it says it's 2,600 parts per million from brand X, and then you go down and brand, Y is 1,600 parts per million, doesn't mean it's a better oil. It's just different chemistry on how they get things to work and play nice, a little of this, little of that. So the diesel engine oil too, they went from a typical 1,100 to 1,300 parts per million in the old formulation CJ4. They're down to anywhere from 700 to 900 parts per million. So the teams that are running, diesel engine oil today, thinking they got the zinc and the detergents and it looks good, they have to I just caution that, because the CK4 spec has a lot more detergents and a lot less zinc, only to accommodate the EPA, the filters and all the stuff going on. So, and break-in oil was, they used diesel engine oil a lot in the old days to break in because it was cheap. It had the zinc, the detergents, all that stuff. So now you're seeing break-in oil more the forefront for breaking in engines. You typically break-in SAE 30 is number one. It's been number one forever, but you're starting to see multi-grade break-in oils like 1040, 2050. Some of the engine builders, they like to break in with the viscosity that you're going to be running. So there's some benefit to that. Of according to them. So,
And you bring up break-in oil, and it's getting to be dyno season, so we can help anybody with.
Yep.
Now's the time to test a new product if you want to try it.
Definitely.
And that's the hardest part too, like, because I've worked with different engine builders, Scott, over time, with different tractors and stuff like that. And everybody, it's hard to go to your engine builder, that's the one oil that they've used their whole life and they've had nothing but good luck with it. But talking to you, what? You don't pretend to be God, but you know it. You know lubricants and oils and what it means and what they do, and people trust you, and that's what's been fun. I really enjoyed working with you, so thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And there's a big gray area with oil, and that's why you see I use them. My dad used. I use them. My grandpa used. And one of the things we'll talk about down the road is multi-grade oil. And the question is, we all know that when oil gets hot, it gets thinner. So how can it be in the bottle as a 10W40? Well, how can it be a 10 thin when it's cold and then it's hot? It gets thinner. So you just got to kind of clear your mind and then understand the chemistry and the molecules. And we can talk more about it, but the viscosity improvers and modifiers, they actually, when oil heats up, there's a chemical reaction at the molecules inside have a bunch of little snake, for instance, all tight, when it's cold, but when it heats up, those snakes, so to speak, in one molecule start expanding. And that's how you get your dual or multi-grade, and it gets like a 1040, it gets to become a 10, a 40. So it's really interesting on that. But the high zinc thing is interesting because people out there, they reference the race oils just high zinc. Does it have high zinc? And or if their engine looks good or they never had a problem, it didn't blow up. So that's the new norm, but there's always something better out there, you think. So, but that's good. If there's anyone's got questions, email. I mean, I've been getting emails, people, topics to talk about different things. And
our world, there's a lot of, obviously we have a lot of followers, but in our world also there's a lot of different opinions about oil. And that's what's been fun to team up with you, Scott, again, and just talk about all the different products that are out there. And that you'll be honest, like, hey, that's a good oil. I mean, that's what I like about you. You're not just we want to sell. Obviously, that's why we're doing this, but it's more important to inform. And I've picked up a lot on this because everybody knows I'm just kind of a dummy when it comes to mechanics and stuff like that. So it's been really good for me to clue into these. And I love the comments. I love seeing people come in and off of the shows. I mean, it's good content. We're making people smarter. So,
well, the other thing too, going back, Jason and Doug, to break-in oil, years ago, they would sell race engine oil off the dyno sheet. That's what's sold. Like, let's face it, more horsepower, more torque, right? Those are the two things you're looking for. So, but there's also, you have to put in the variable that it's got to be practical too, how it's being used on the track, So there's big differences. Just because an oil tests well on the dyno and it's phenomenal, it's like, oh man, we cranked up the horsepower for you. And so especially in circle track, because what happens, you're doing pulls on the dyno and all that stuff, and no disrespect for that. But when you're out on the track, that's practical application, right? That's race condition where you're running the oil hotter. You might get in traffic. You're not getting, cooled like you would, or blah, blah, blah. So there's a lot of stuff. It's interesting with the break-in process and that, but break-in oil, we could do just a half hour on that because it's interesting why there's break-in oil and what break-in oil does for, seating the reins, breaking engines in, so to speak. There's a lot going on, but there's also a lot of variables too on what you're using that engine for, as far as the hone on the block, and as far as piston rings. And again, Lake Speed Jr. is one of the best in the business. It's, as far as oil goes, highly respect, and he's a total seal. So there's a lot going on there with, respect to piston rings and oil. So, oil is the heartbeat of that engine, just like blood is to a human body. So, and last thing I'll close, no matter what you have out there, oil analysis program, even if it's once a year, to have that oil tested will really tell the story of what's going on. Wear items, premature failure, all that good stuff. So it's good with the cost of stuff today. It's just getting astronomical. And let's face it, I'm hearing more and more premature failure because of, they say cheap parts, but let's face it, it's metallurgy. A lot of stuff's coming from overseas. We won't pick on anybody, but we kind of know where it's coming from. But we're seeing a lot more camshaft wear, breaking, crankshafts that are breaking too. Just, stuff that just is, normally doesn't happen. And, when I say that, I deal with like predominant engine builders, like top-notch stuff. I mean, some of my engine builder customers, they're building $120,000 pieces, so it's not like they're just doing it in their garage out back, So just something to be aware of too, because a lot of times when there's failure, oil gets picked on. It's like, oh, it's got to be the oil, Sometimes it is, but 99.9% of the time, it's not oil related. That's for sure. But anyways, any questions on the Gear Oil GL products? We stock them over at Premier. PRI is coming up. We're excited. We definitely want to get pre-orders from there just to make sure everyone's accommodated going into 2024. Get stocked up, or at least we have an idea of inventory. So.
Yep. No, we're going to be excited to be down there with you again this year coming up for that. So we're going to have some tractors on display. Our new tractor is going to be on display. And I know Doug's working on a couple other things as well. The Outlaw Truck and Tractor Pulling Association is going to be there with us. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. That's coming up December 9th through the 11th in Indianapolis, right, Douglas?
7th to the 9th, I believe.
7th through the 9th. I got something else in my brain. Sorry. Yep. 7th through the 9th. Sorry about that. So
that'll be good. And then next week, we'll have some exciting news for everyone from Premier Lubricants. We have another American made in the USA brand that we're bringing out. We're going to be a master distributor for that as well. So we're pretty excited to announce that to everybody. It's going to have another offering to, one-stop shop. That's our goal. We'd really like to be the one-stop shop lubricant, distributor warehouse. So, and just because we're in Atchison, Kansas, our primary location there, that doesn't matter. We ship all over. I mean, we ship, Brandon and I, my partner, we ship, we have customers in Australia in the sprint car wheel. We ship skids of oil over there. So anywhere in the U.S. is no problem. You want to ship out of state out of the states, lower 48, we do that too. So that's not a problem.
I love it. Well, thanks for watching tonight, everybody. Every Tuesday night, Tech Talk, Scotty Too Hottie, Mr. Baubie here, our VP of Motorsports and Business Development. We appreciate that. Doug, thank you for your time tonight. I'm going to start a new live here in a little bit called Outlawed Live. Have a good night, everybody.
Have a great night. Thanks. Bye-bye.